Oh,
Beth Tower, I'm here.
thanks, Beth.
1 minute.
All right. I guess we'll go right to citizens' comments. If there are any citizens' comments, now's the time. Really? Really? Yeah.
No pressure, you always have to make up a comment.
All right. Of course, we're used to having like freshmen here. There are no citizens' comments. We'll go right to the first item, which is the transfer station pilot program in the RFPs.
So we did receive two proposals. Chad and I reviewed them. One of the proposals did not follow any of the direction that we had illustrated in the RFP. Take one, and the other one was right to what we were looking for. So I'm passing out the one that meets our ask. I'll give the board a chance to look it over. It is a pay-to-throw program. It outlines a program exactly what we were looking for in the RFP.
Why are they providing 2096 gallon barrels? Their equipment is at the point of collection. Do people, so people like some fill up the back of their pickup truck, get there, fill the
Right,
barrel.
they want to have enough barrels in case someone comes with a pickup full. They will fill one, fill two, and then they'll charge them.
Yeah, that's the point of measure, filling up that.
Rather than by weight, it's by the barrel.
Okay, so the person coming in, let's say they don't fill a barrel, they're charged with, whatever amount.
Whether it's one bag or 3 bags that fill a 96 gallon, it's a $9 charge.
Okay, $9 is an issue. But after that person leaves, they only fill the barrel halfway, and empty the barrel, so next person.
Yes. That's their unit of measure. So one might think it might be more efficient to save up enough bags to fill up a barrel at once than the one.
So this is the only one we have.
We had two, one completely mismarked.
Can I ask how?
They were gonna charge the town a monthly fee, and
Okay,
it was clearly stated in the RFP.
right.
This was a relationship between the vendor and the restaurant.
I know we talked about this a little bit before, but my big thing is, at some point you're gonna make a profit off of it. And we're not making, and getting any charges for them to do this. At what point do we decide that should be?
Well, I think this is a really big trial.
Right.
So I, my personal, It's not, at the end of the 90 days, it's more likely that they don't want to provide this service, depending on how many, a lot of people have already
Fair enough.
established their relationships, got their curbside. They may not want to travel there, so.
That's why we're only doing it for 90 days.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
but when they decided they do keep moving forward.
My point is, if the board is good with this pilot program proposal, we'll go forward, I will draw up an MOU that I'll bring to you at the next meeting.
My question is more about the 90 days and they are all for it, making some money. How do we assess any charges?
That would be entirely up to the board of when and how to assess charge.
yeah, the first 90 days.
Yeah, I get that, I get that. I know.
Yeah, same thing, I mean,
Okay.
I think that even if you look at our heavy days, I'm sorry, so everybody can hear.
Chad, Ellis here.
And Allison can address it as well. I think, I mean, on the busiest days, where we were talking about 100 people probably on a Saturday come through,
I think there was a lot more.
but that are actually just using the trash. Not going to the leaf pile, not going to the brush pile, not going to. So I mean, even 150 people at $9 a piece, you're talking about a considerable amount of equipment and manpower there to deal with them. You know, I mean, you're talking about a $300,000 trash truck that's gonna sit out there on a Saturday and run for the day. So the point of making money for them might take that full load of what we can do. Or if we, I mean, if they, and you guys decide at some point to open it up to other towns that don't have a service in their town. But we want that traffic coming through and how to regulate what we do versus what they do. So there's some sticky points, but
I have another question. So what does this say? We're trying to meet a demand from the state. We have a plan B. Like, see.
did you know if it fails, I submitted a petition for an article, I got a lot of support, so I think there's reason to believe that perhaps in March, we may be running.
I just,
Addition to the state that we're looking at that? Are we, would that be sufficient to answer the state's?
They're well aware of this pilot program. I called and had a discussion with them. They went as far as to say that they were interested to see how it came out, but they wouldn't go far enough to say that would meet.
Right, so that probably answered the other part of the question is how they receive the idea of a petition warrant article. Would that cause any proceedings, I think?
I have no idea.
they seem like they wanna work with us and get through
Yeah, they
this.
haven't come collecting,
No,
fees
no.
yet, so I'm
No.
We just
assuming
received
they want to work with
that
us.
one letter from them.
And never anything else. So I'm still waiting to hear about me.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining us. Can you state your name, please?
Melody Bay.
I do have, I'm sorry, I do have one other question for you, Chad.
Yeah.
Does this affect your guys and how, is it gonna be in the way of anything that your staff is doing? How do you-
I mean, looking at what they're looking to do down there, I think it's gonna take out less than the old trash. All the dumpsters did, so I think we can work around them.
Yeah.
So, or they can work around us. I think it'll just take, there'll be a breaking period for the first couple of days, just to make sure that people understand you're dealing with them for trash and us for everything else.
Is there a schedule? When they would be here?
Saturdays.
Just Saturday.
Just Saturday.
From 8 to 3.
So
Any other questions, folks? Entertain a motion.
Well, I think John was about to share something.
I was gonna say, so if no one has another question.
I move that the board approve. The board approve the 90-day trial proposed by Permar disposal for trash pickup on Saturdays from 8 to 3 at our transfer station.
What would be the effective date?
I'm going to develop an MOU, which I've already started. I'll have it for you at the next meeting, so I'm thinking September 1st. Or this first Saturday.
Effective date tentatively first Saturday in September.
I would like to have enough time to advertise to the public that this is going to happen.
I would do September 7th,
Thank
first
you.
Saturday. On or about September 7th. I second.
All in favor?
Tricia, Kathleen, I.
Diana,
Laura,
Scott. Chief.
Eric Lambert, fire chief. So, as we get closer to the school year, we're moving forward with, that's our review for the new students, to come forward to start the school year this year. We actually had a really good turnout this year. Very unheard of in the past 15 years, because the program from Laconia kind of separated, and a lot of the students went to Southern Portland, Maine, and Vermont people were going there. But they revamped the college in the past 2 years, and they're doing really well now. It actually has a really good reputation. We're working with them for advertising. So we had 2 students last year, Ben Chadwick, who left us very early, and then Marcus Jordan, who graduated the program this year. So we're looking to move 2 more students forward to replace them. So we got Jamie Studier Brown and Hyunjin Chan. So Jamie comes from Keene. She's already a certified firefighter, which is good for us in the time we need. She's starting the college in September and wants to become a paramedic, so she's in it for the 2.5 year degree. And Hyun comes from New York. Actually, he's a migrant from Korea. Left his parents at home, moved to New York. He's been a police cadet for 4 years, all the way through. Was interested in EMS, actually just finishing his EMS class, and hopefully we'll get one from registry in the next few weeks. So I'd like to move them forward to have that motion to put them into the position. So school starts in September. Usually this is the time where you get them approved, and then they get in and they move in last week of August, so August the first week. So that's the first one.
Make sure.
They're 24/7.
So how the program works is, when it first started in 2005, is they moved from Vermont, New York, Maine, all the places, and they moved to New Hampshire because Laconia Tech was the premier place to come. So Maine got started, so a lot of the Maine people started in that way, some of the northern New Hampshire people moved that way. Now, they move in, they basically stay at the station, and they live at the station. They go on weekends. They're required under us as they're technically a qualified. But they stay at the station, they work throughout the day. The aspects of the EMS, the aspects of the fire department, how the firehouse life goes, what to expect. It's like an intern.
Yeah.
And I think actually when Jeff was a select, we did. So they gain that knowledge, and it really gives them a leg up when they get into the field. To be not just in the field, to be promoted to the ranks. A lot of the students, that was one, do very well. The chief of natural fire right now is calling me a lot of people. Because they don't just get the basic skills, they get the management skills.
Who do they work under?
They would work under Lieutenant Wood, who's in charge of the cadets and cadet students, and they have actually planned each year what they need to accomplish each year.
Oh, okay.
And what they do is for them living there in exchange, they have to be available, like be a structure fire and they're certified, and they go within the night of their body. EMS wise, there's a third provider to cover maintenance. If they become certified as an ambulance technician, they need to provide an ambulance, which is the able to have a ambulance available. They usually primarily go to school during the day, Monday through Friday. The tech has done an interesting thing, they crammed a lot of the classes like fire one in 8 weeks instead of 12 weeks. So, and in two classes, the same 8 weeks of testing, so. And we actually work with them, so when the student gets there, the whole point of living is a job. But the whole point of living is it benefits the town too, because you get an extra body.
Right.
So. That's it. Yeah.
Are there costs associated to the fire department for this? They take their own wheels, how does that work?
Yeah, it's basically they pay for their own meals. They live at the firehouse, they have a bedroom, they go to school, they take care of them. They can actually work if they want to, be approved, like if they have a part-time job, because we learned over the years that sometimes they come to live in student, but they go to a job for 35 hours a week. That's, the whole point is to get back to the community, that's why you're staying here as an intern. So, no, they basically take care of themselves. They do get paid, obviously, if they don't want to call them. $80 but that's limited based on a coverage schedule. What they give them. It's not like they go every single call. It's be expensive. So usually what they'll do is they'll provide a day that they're available. And if a call comes in, they go. So.
And that's just in the budget for the town.
Yeah, and usually that's usually we provide them, a lot of the times it's the tech requires them to buy a uniform. So we usually provide them with a polo shirt and a sweatshirt. But they usually get their own pants and stuff.
But Chief, you've got 2 of these living students, correct? 2. All right. Jamie, Julia Brown and Young Jun Chang.
Yeah.
Any questions for Mitch? All right, I move that the chief be allowed to resident to hire these student firefighters, effective date.
September.
These student firefighters, Jamie Julia Brown and Young Jun Chang. As live-in resident student firefighters that get every effective date August 11th. Any other conversation? All in favor?
Sean.
Kathleen, I, Joanne, Laura.
Who was the second, please?
Other things I need to address, bring forward to the board is as they go through with all the changes that we talked about in the past couple of meetings for responsibilities. We've had 4 people that got on probation in May and made meetings mid-year process, but never got moved to where they should be on the pay scale relative to being on probation. On top of that, there's an additional person that became a certified AET sometime ago last fall. And 2 others that have taken on more responsibility than they should in the department, so I'd like to know them to be able to address that issue. And last but not least is the training facility will be done in the next 2 weeks. That management of that building is something that I have too much on my plate. So we need to move somebody in that position to be able to handle that administration because it is going to be a revenue generator for the town. So we need to be able to make sure that we're managing that appropriately. Not just for that, but the actual training we do as a department to be able to manage. So, the first 2 that I will bring forward to do individually is Taylor Belcito. She's our command writer that works in the department. She's done it for a while. But when Melissa LaPorte stepped away, she assumed the role of EMS supply coordinator, which is a job within itself. She's been doing it for 3 months now. Probably more than that. So I'm not looking for gigantic raises, but just to move her up to the next step from 23.99 to 24.47, that's $26 a year.
I just have a quick question about this, because we didn't do step raises for any of the departments. Those were those possible. So I don't know if there's a policy. Do we have it?
I think just kind
And
of
on
step increase.
we didn't do any wording. We didn't do any step increases.
We haven't done any stuff.
Understood.
So perhaps this is begging the question of how do we manage that?
Yeah.
Right. whole?
And then you look at it across the board, it's within their budgets. You know, some of these smaller increases. I already freeze everything. Different. And maybe to discuss it. I would be willing, I would be willing to discuss it.
Yeah.
I don't think I would be comfortable giving a step increase to certain employees and. Absolutely.
Based on, like you discussed before in the past, when we went through the budget seasons, for when we had the last step raises. It's based on performance or actual review of what they actually do. We haven't been, nobody hasn't used the process. Since I think that prior to it should be. But these individuals, it's not a review process, they've accepted more responsibility. And one of them actually, certification increase, so he actually falls at a different spot in the scale. So those changes, only two individuals here that, when you get on probation, they were due a raise, you just step on probation. So I'm not asking for it across the board based on who everybody needs to raise, not being financially responsible. And saying that these people need more. It's not like they're just getting a raise for big team. Ron, Taylor, they accepted more responsibility than some said. Jared Pierce received AET certification, so he's working at a different level, so he needs to be taken care of. And the other four that I have on here, they got out probation. It's not like they're getting a raise because they didn't have another year, they actually achieved getting off probation. Because it's a
Again, the
total of
question
6.
is, could that be true in other departments that that's happening with employees? So in order for us to fairly look at that for your department as far as people coming off probation, it behoove us to look at that as well and see if there's anything else.
Well, I say that for the sake of as John has told me, looking at the budget is, I need to advocate for the fire department. And I'm bringing it forward for the sake of, we have people in the department that are doing more than what they're supposed to be doing. Some that have actually earned the right to be on probation. And I'm asking them to work, so I look at it as they're good employees. I support 100% to be clear. I think everybody should get a step increase because we're going to lose good employees. Along with the insurance that just changed and us, we did an 8% raise for everybody, or a step increase or wage adjustment, whatever it was 2 years ago, because we were 13% behind. So now we're 8% ahead. Now we lose 5% this year, so really only 3% ahead. And I can tell you that in my department, I can tell you that I've talked to others, is we need to stick with the times, because other people are already looking. So in this essence, for the people that are working right here, Taylor actually got a job offer across the river for $2 more an hour, just to do her regular job. So for what she is actually doing, she's still gonna make less than that offer. So I would like to recognize if you made achievements. I'm not going across the board for everybody, it's 2 other full timers. They already got position before they started full time, so they don't need. The people that are here have achieved that no close goal, so.
What are they again? Are they
So
on this list?
it's on the spreadsheet, the ones that are highlighted in gray.
They're in regard.
What's that?
I don't disagree with that sentiment. I really, it killed me not to give step raises this year to everybody. I think all the departments should get them. I will be prepared to make a decision on this tonight, but also more information. I would like to request that perhaps John could reach out to the other departments to see if there's anybody else. Maybe there's a police officer who just reached their probation point, or are there licenses, certificates that people have obtained that would enable them, so that we can see in order to perhaps honor that at least across all departments of tax.
It is a difficult thing to discuss when we are looking at a default budget, we did put a hiring freeze, you know, some would consider a hiring freeze to be even for promotions or, you know, for probation, to be in probationary. So I would like to see some more information. I agree with Kathleen about the other departments, but also you mentioned some additional responsibilities that goes back to the same request that I made of you for the change from part-time to full-time is what are those additional responsibilities?
They are
Quantify them.
So Ron and Taylor are taking care of the responsibilities for EMS training and EMS supplies. And that's all they could. Along with Irving and grant writer, that helps us up the town out. That's it.
Are they doing more of that, or is that new additional responsibility?
That's a new addition. So this is stepped away, it has to be taken care of, and I can't do it. So I can help them with certain aspects of it, which I do, because they can't, because they're not. But ordering supplies from the hospital, stocking those supplies, making sure that all the requirements are there. Ron actually aiding with scheduling the trainings and getting people to show up for the trainings and tracking all that. Those are among the responsibilities that this responsible.
So technically, that's a rewrite of the job description that we should see.
No, because I don't want to do that, because eventually someday we're actually gonna need a coordinator. We're gonna need somebody that manages that day-to-day skill. What I'm doing now is CQI and else. Eventually need to get back down to that. I can do it, and the deputy can have like 5 hours a week, but as we grow into the future, I'm not saying right now, that grow into the future. So that's gonna be a position that needs to be set, it is in most departments. And EMS department is.
So I want to clarify, you're saying you don't want to rewrite the job description to include those responsibilities?
No,
Is that what
because
you're
then,
saying?
so, because if I rewrite the job descriptions, we already have an EMS lieutenant job description there, and I wouldn't want to divide up that lieutenant position, if there I have to promote him into the position, which costs more than what I'm offering for them to get paid now, which is a little bump. It's probably another $3 an hour, since, I don't know, $2.42. I'm sorry, yeah, Ron's changed it, but Perry, it's really 70 cents. Do that responsibility?
How much is your budget spent so far?
So the cost of this is only $8,184, change. At 66.67% for the year, which was last Friday, and 53.25%. So I'm under budget as it sits. So I'll say this for the sake of it, I think that, yes, everything should be evaluated for raise. My job is to manage the fire department, I'm under budget, and I think these people deserve this. I can't speak for the police department, and I can't speak for the fire department or the town hall. But I know that we are in a position where, I've said it many times, I know it's been criticized, but it's structural.
But I would say too, just on that note, for all departments across the board, because I have talked to departments. And it is hard to find people, but also if you look at other towns in a lot of these positions. They are getting paid higher wages than unfortunately, I know it's just. But we really do have to follow that aspect of it and look into this is something that, you know, across the board, and for these specific people that are, you know, getting observation that they agree across the board, to all the departments, but it's something that we should.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if that is online still, I mean, I've spoken to Bruno on it too, is like. Before the default budget, we did have a plan for the steps. And not the full 5%, because obviously there's money. And the savings was not $100,000, it was $71,000, look back in minutes, about $71,000 to get everybody in a step raise. I don't need everybody to get a step raise, because I have some people on my department that I haven't seen in 2 months that are probably on the just goodbye. So I wouldn't give them. The people that earn those raises, like Mike had said before in the past, are the people that are the raises for the stepping. So, but my fear is townwide, I support it townwide, is if we don't take a step, it's gonna cost me 3 times what that step was to replace them. And I can tell you, I have one person in the Manchester process right now. To put them through 6 weeks of rookie school, it's gonna cost me $18,000. Because by the time I backfill and I cover them with probation and everything else, and if they have to take a class, we're gonna lose them. So for $8,000, we're probably gonna save 20. You know, so in my mind, I think as a department head, I'm under budget. These people need to be appreciated. We're gonna lose them.
Yeah, I like this approach, and I think we should do it with every department head, have, that come in, do the same thing. It, gives the raises where they're due. And if we just go across the board, if everybody is that increase, considers that we don't need it, so it'll be less expensive. If we just go department by department, say, check, then do the same approach. And have that come in and do the same approach, and we can look at it and have John do the same approach for the town hall. I think we can hit these areas where we're at risk of losing people, but not go completely across the board and treat everybody the same because everybody did performance. No, I like that too, and I agree that, the department heads can make that decision then. The other piece that I'm thinking about is that with the default budget, the RA regulations state that the union states close that default budget as possible. So these are things we have to consider as we, look at, each one of these is only 8,000. And then it's 16, and then it builds and builds.
But it's not
Now,
71,000.
Are we,
And
how
that's-
far away from the default
And
budget
it's a
are we
part
getting?
of the
So I know
Yeah,
that.
right, so spend 8,000 to save.
Well, that's what I
Right, but
said.
the ERA doesn't care. What they are saying is the regulations you just stay as close to your default.
Right, right,
Yeah, and if you look at the percentages, and that's why I bring forward this and I brought it here, is even the town budget in general, we track there. I talk to John on a regular basis and I look at what's put out there. I'm not just looking at mine, but we look at the overall town budget, we're not doing that. And in my department alone, it's 10% difference right now. So in that 10%, $8,000 is not that much. And as we go, I think that the due diligence as we do our work here is, yeah, I would agree with Diane's comment is, I'm responsible for the environment, I'll bring my data. That's what I did, I spent the whole week looking at this, looking at the numbers of who needs it and what they actually do for their work. Because I love to do the work, be in a full-time position, but that's not happening, so I need to get stuff done. I'm telling you, I told you guys up front, I'm drowning, drowning. I have one day in the office this week to try to get the CIP stuff done for Diane planning work, or you guys in the planning work. Because I have one day in the office.
I'm definitely not opposed to the conversation, I said I would like a tally from all department heads, and I would also like to see the supporting policies that state that when somebody comes out of probation, what they're supposed to get, or if they get a certain license, what they would expect. So normally they be going in these training programs with the expectation that they're gonna be doing this staff or however that's phrased in our.
I don't think in the actual personnel policies and probation, there's no. Yeah, it's always been the tradition, when they get to a certain point and they have probation, they graduate in 1 year.
We don't have that written anywhere.
The probation manual says 6 months for the police department, and I believe it says a year. Sorry, a year for 6 months for us. So there's no line that says.
What about training? Do we have a policy that states that you reach certain certifications?
Within the town, not within the town.
With the fire department, does it have one specifically?
I believe we do, but the town would see.
I don't believe that that's specific.
I don't
From
think
what
so.
I've seen.
Would you mind?
No, I don't know.
Thanks.
And John, would you also look at the yearly honor with, I know we're only partway through the year, but, kind of look. I'd like to put an eye on where we are with our budget versus what the default is. How close are we to that?
Well, we are working with the default.
Yeah, I understand that, but we've had little things here and there.
I post the expenditure report every week on the town webpage. You can see an update week to week of what our expenditures are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's one there.
No, it's week to week. At the end of every AP, you'll see where we are compared to how much we have left.
It's under the finance.
100% that we will be used for the close of the
Well, as Eric indicated, we're 56% through the year, and I think the total budget is at 55% spent. But you can look that up every week.
Any other questions for the chief? Just keep in mind, folks, it's not cheap to go out and hire employees. It's not.
Now, myself and the.
It's hard enough to get them, it's hard enough to keep.
So in the last one that was in that, it's Brian did, who I explained, is he. Five children. He's no income, and he's very good at training. He worked with firemen also. He's a firefighter on our department, so my request would be to promote him to lieutenant of training. To be able to handle the management of the training grounds in our fire and some of our training, and like the fire service training, because that is going to be a beast within itself, to be able to manage, make sure we can base. So he's a lieutenant AEMT, he's a level 3 instructor, he works in the fire academy. He's an ALS provider in Hollis, he's a lot of skill, he works in the fire academy, teaching fireman classes and that. He has a significant amount of knowledge, and he's very well organized.
He was in the Coast Guard, right?
He was in the Coast Guard and CVs, and he would be looking to leave in the job to come here and help us. He works in Stratford, he works in Hollis, he works in fire academy, he works for us. He's working 4 jobs, but he wants to put his feet down somewhere that's closer to home, or make it better. So I'm looking for that.
We're looking to move out of probation to increase responsibilities. That's not really keep working. As you mentioned, there's a couple of people that are coming out of probation,
The bottom 4.
and then there's a couple of increased
Bottom 4,
responsibilities.
so Hugo.
Bottom 4 on probation. Jared is an AMT. Taylor, Ryan is a promotion, and then Theo and Ron are doing more spots.
Bottom 4 of the probations and months.
Yes. Jared is an AMT versus an EMT.
They're not alphabetical by last name.
No.
What you're talking about.
I don't watch the word at home.
Besides the last one,
No, I have 4.
Oh.
So Jared Pierce is an AMT. Ryan didn't get a promotion. Taylor Belcio and Ron will be. So.
I'm seeing eight others that have an estimated annual cost increase. Besides the 4.
Only ones that are kind
Well,
of.
Oh, yeah, okay,
That's how it is.
okay, got it, all right.
Any other questions? Anyone want to offer up a motion?
I make a motion until we were getting more information from the other departments.
So the next meeting.
Just so the next meeting, I don't think we should drag our feet on this for all. Because
No,
that's another
you don't
2
wanna go,
weeks.
you don't wanna go looking for firefighters.
Right, I know our police and fire. And probably my way to tell everybody, it's hard. It really is, I really need to do somebody for
$8,000. Really close, voting this week, we follow suit with the highway and with police, and at our next meeting.
I would rather get all the information, because if I do it for one, I want to, but for all, I wanna know what that.
Why don't we should?
Is gonna be.
I mean, if at all possible, you know, so just a little bit of background. When I was on the budget committee for the past couple of years, the first year I was on is when we gave the, what was it, 8% raise or whatever it was, because we had not given increases for like 3 years or something like that. And people were like, oh, you know, we're not gonna give 8% raise where I work. Well, no, but you probably got raises, you know, in the past years before that. And we discussed it at the budget committee level, and we said, you know what, we should never miss step increases in COLAs, because then we get behind the 8 ball, and then these people who work in Allenstown, you know, are way behind. They talk to other people who work in other towns, and they're way behind, and it's like, yeah, you know, I'll go, because, I mean, economics is economics, you know, we all pay the same thing when we go to Sully's and, you know, Eversource bills, I mean, everybody's got their hands up. I to not treat our employees, you know, and pay them what they're worth, regardless if we're in default. It's just not right to me.
Well,
That's why.
I remember that when they did the 8%, it wasn't because they weren't getting raises, because the raises were keeping up on with the competition. So that's kind of why when I first ran to this board, I was very adamant about having that wage study done. So I wanted to make sure that we were keeping up.
Yeah.
I understand the argument, it's why I've made myself to this board many times over the year. But when we went to that default budget, and then the townspeople lost an entire service, and we don't know what's coming down the pipe at us next, and we frozen kind of hiring freeze, and no employees were getting a step increase. I would feel much better seeing where we are right now in relation to our budget, seeing what it would cost us to do it across the board for all those employees that are deserving, instead of just picking one department and doing it all at once. If we deem that it's feasible, I get the argument, I understand that. I know I sat in that office and watched employees get job propositions from neighboring towns. When we did the wage classification study, I know that there was a little bit of pushback about the towns that we were looking at. Some people were saying, well, we can't compete with them, they're bigger. Well, they are who we're competing with, because they are the ones who are reaching out to our employees saying, we will pay you $2 or $3 more an hour. So I get it, but right now in the seat, in the default budget here, we do have to be careful and make sure that we're spending appropriately. I agree, one, we're careful, but we also, two, have to look at if we do lose these people, we're gonna be paying a lot more to get service. Yeah, and I get that too, when you train, to just going through training, and especially, I know our police department struggled for years where it seemed like people would think, go through the academy, we foot the bill, as soon as they become very active on the force. So I do see all that. I just want to see the big picture before I make this decision. We have that one next meeting, Sean?
I'll reach out to the department heads tomorrow.
Yeah. Today?
You can probably ask Chief Power, she's online, if she has any potential. We'll get one department.
Hey,
Hi.
Chief Tower,
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
have you heard the conversation?
Yeah, most of it. It's a little bit choppy, but I got the gist of it. We will have at least one officer coming off of probation. I know that that's a real critical point for them, and they usually get a pretty significant raise after they've done a year. It's like a $3 jump. If they don't get it in Allenstown, they will get it somewhere else. And then my only other thing coming up is I really need to get a lieutenant on board as well. But for the rest of it, I'll have to look at numbers. I haven't looked at it as closely as Eric's looked at his right at the moment, but yeah, there's definitely some people that are going to be needing that raise.
Beth, can you have that for the next Board of Selectmen meeting?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. John, you talk to Chad,
Thank you, Chief.
and you'll do
Welcome.
Okay, so I don't think there was there
There's
a
no
motion?
motion.
There was no
No,
motion
no
to
motion.
table.
So we need a okay, Steve's asking, so we need a motion to table.
Right.
Okay. I make a motion that we table the increases, the step increases, as requested by the fire chief until the next meeting, which was 20.
22nd.
Okay, the next board of select meeting, which is August 25th, so we discuss and determine what action we're going to take. Our step increases across all accounts. I'll second that.
All in favor?
Tricia, Kathleen, Diana, Laura.
Thank you, guys.
Right. Selectmen rules and procedures. Everybody had a chance to go through that.
I read just a little bit of background, so I've been working on it for weeks and weeks. The thing that took the longest was I looked up every single one of those RXAs that was listed in that. The example we had for graduate. I looked all up, I in fact added a couple, and something I did was I changed the title that was in the example we had for graduate, because some of those terms in the title did not even appear in the RSA. So I changed the title from that to RSA. And then it was primarily what was already in ours. I took some, I read, and 2 or 3 of them that are online, so they show up all over the place, and looking at them, a lot of people take up people's rules of procedure, because they were like word for word, like, so, and ours is no different, so I think it's a good starting point as we go through it, if anything needs to change, it's a revision. So, but it's better than what we have now, because there's inaccuracies, what we have now, that's reduced.
It's funny about what you say about town copying from one another, and I've even seen it to the point where they're about to change.
Yeah, they just paste, there's danger, I typed it from scratch. Everything, because,
It's easy.
Watch those past errors.
Yeah.
Which is
Are you ready for us to make a motion to?
I like I said, every document is a new document, and if something comes up, and we get more experience in one area and we want to tweak it, then it's just.
Do you want to make one motion?
Yeah, okay. Do you have it in front of you, Scott?
I do, it's document number pro-BOS-02. Select board rules of procedure.
So I make a motion to accept document number PRO, which means procedure, BOS, which is under the Board of Selectmen, 02 is the second one. Select board rules of procedure at revision 0 or
Revision 0.
0, okay. I will second that.
All in favor?
Tricia, Kathleen, Diana, Laura.
Scott.
And that will be effective today, right?
That was a long. I like still I bury myself in these.
Diane,
things, so.
effective today,
As soon as all the signatures are on the document,
so I will send it out electronically tomorrow. I didn't print it, just in case you folks
Okay.
want to make any
so you're
changes.
signing, okay. The documents are generally effective upon the last date of the signatures. And we only need, there's 5 spots, we can all sign it, but minimum is 3. Okay, thanks, Joe.
You're Mr. H.
I have in your signature folder a personnel action request. I initially offered a person to job for the custodian position. Local person who has agreed to work 27 hours between the police department, ADS, and the town hall. And I offered that person $19.32. And though that hourly rate would be split between the police department, ADS, and the town. And there is money in the budget to cover that. Yearly salary.
You knew that was coming, you knew that was coming.
It's not my first time.
I said, you only hear me say it at a meeting.
That's a good question.
I like kind of ask questions because I want the view of the taxpayer to understand what we're doing on these issues.
You know,
Sorry.
It would be a
over
motion,
here, push you to.
it would be a motion to approve and have the board chair sign.
And we had already voted that we would allow.
Yes.
Saying we could hire this person.
Wouldn't have gotten this far.
Yeah.
I make a motion to hire Sarah Robbie,
Garrett,
in the role of government building custodian, as a part-time position with 27 hours a week at a rate of $19.33. Effective 8/17/25. At a rate 3. I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Commissioner. Kathleen, aye. Gary, aye. Laura, aye.
Scott.
thank you. In your correspondence folder, just as an FYI to the board, FEMA sent out a letter to the town for flood management update. I've also informed the planning board they would have an active role if there were any changes to our zoning amendment that would be needed. Put it in your folder, and I believe I copied you on it. I may not, sorry. It's very technical. I'm glad to share it with anybody. But the planning board will need to review it as well as central planning commission. And if any changes are needed, I'll update you as they go, but they have to review. I also put in your correspondence folder, we received the July New Hampshire Highway Block Grant in the amount of $30,144.97. There's 4 payments throughout the year. I plan on just announcing to the board so you know what revenue is coming. Today we had our first AES transition committee meeting, and I do bring recommendations from the transition committee. There are 3 of them. Having to do with the security of the building of the perimeter. I've discussed it in previous meetings about key swipe system for the doors, replacing the lock cylinders within each door. And in order for the key swipe system to operate, we need to purchase a PC. When the school left, they took all of their equipment. The hardware is on the door to operate the key swipe system, but it needs a computer to run this. So I have 3 recommendations from the committee to you. The first would be to ask the board to waive its current purchasing policy with matters associated with ACS for the security of the building. We have a $10,000 maximum. Then anything over that, we would have to do an RFP. I've struggled to get the quotes that I have. I've contacted the security person that does town hall now. They were unable to get me a quote in due time so that we could consider it. They still operate our building, but when they came down and looked at AES, they toured the building. I never got a quote from them. So unfortunately, I have one quote for the door swipe system, key locks, and the computer. The external lock cylinders is a quote for $1,125. That will rekey all of the external doors to a master key. Those will not be handed out. Those will be emergency purposes only for EMS and fire. That will be in a knock spot outside the building. Should the power fail and they need cut power, the door swipe systems would not work. That's why you need a manual key to be filled. The second quote was for the door controllers. Not all of the doors had operational door controls. Some of them were in pretty bad shape. Some of them need to be added. That was a quote for $10,543. That would actually get the key swipe system working. Third quote was for a PC to operate the key swipe system. That number was $849. All three of these purchases would come out of the capital reserve fund for a new municipal building that has been put aside for the AES expansion. Question?
What was the reason for waiving the
That
process?
one large
I
purchase.
understand that, but
Because I would add weeks to developing an RFP and then sending it out for bid.
time.
The concern is the school is not school. And there's already been a case of vandalism in town. That's the concern. The longer we wait, it's a
I think if a big picture, that's a small amount.
Yeah, well, and you know, I mean, it is what it isn't, you know, do we have somebody within that committee that has a good sense of what that's, you know, a viable rate, you know, a rate that's, you know, not an exorbitant rate, you know, like we haven't asked anybody else, so maybe somebody else would make it 8,000, you know, we have somebody that can say that sounds like a reasonable.
Peter DeSantis, I'm on the committee. I think the problem John had is he sent 4 or 5 requests to different companies, only one got back to him. I think he mentioned he thinks the job is just small enough that not a lot of bigger companies going for it. And that's why as a committee, we decided that we should move ahead and not waste more time.
I'm not recommending that the purchase policy be waived for all.
No, I
expenses
understand,
of
just
the
in this
building.
situation, okay.
This security issue is rather a priority. Once we get past this, the building's secure, then I would recommend we go forward with our regular purchasing of quotes and bids.
I can say just buying here. It's usually way more than me. So that sounds, and then I know in the past, when we had town hall, we did a locksmith, I wanna say it was like 3 or 4 thousand. So if those two are coming in significantly under, I would say.
The most expensive is the actual door swipe mechanism, those readers. Are
And
the-
then
Are they all from the same company?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
So I'd say they're
person,
probably-
the person doing the replacing of the lock cylinders and the key swipe system is the same company. I asked him to give both of both.
So being a non-expert, I feel like they're competitive, right? Based on those things.
Well, I mean, just the idea that you reached out to,
I've
all of them and no, I mean, that's usually the reason why, oftentimes the reason why we. I have some people, because nobody's going to answer it anyway.
I've worked with this company before, many times before, the reputability.
So any other questions, folks? I think there's 2 motions in order here, correct? One is to suspend 3.
Well, there's 4, actually, if you vote to suspend the RFP process for that one purchase. And then I need 3 motions, 1 for each purchase coming from the capital reserve.
We have that into one, but we don't have one.
We don't.
I move that the board waive our current purchase policy guidelines for expenditures over $10,000 for proposal from, what's the company, John?
All safe.
All Safe Locks. In the amount of $10,523 for door controls and various parts to ensure the operation of the existing e-swipe system at AES, which don't doors. Waiver for this proposal.
I'll second that. Oh, no, you got it, girls.
All in favor?
Kathleen, I, Laura.
Scott.
To come from,
I got three left.
Now you're gonna make the motion.
okay,
Okay, that's right.
I move that the board approve the proposal from Allsafe. The amount of $1,125 for the lock cylinders for external doors at Allenstown Elementary School / future town offices. Money to be drawn from the new municipal building capital reserve.
Can you put all three items in the motion? Add the other two.
Yeah. Redo it. I move that the board approve following expenditures, all funds to be drawn from the municipal building capital reserve fund. First, in the amount of $1,125. For new lock cylinders for the external doors at Allenstown Elementary School / future town offices. As well as $10,543 for door controls and various parts to ensure the operation of the existing e-swipe system, AES doors, and $849 for a new control PC to operate the e-swipe card swipe system at AES.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
For Sean, Kathleen, I, Laura.
Scott. It's awesome. First conference.
Yeah.
Momentous, right?
I'm not sure it's it's a baby step anyways. All right, John.
and one last thing. All have a copy of a draft Allenstown return check policy. I'd like you to look it over, review it, and certainly discuss it. First thing, we really didn't have a return check policy. What we currently use, and I brought from is a practice of what do we do once the town clerk sends out a check notice that your check bounced, we don't hear anything back. We're working with the former police chief. We came up with a practice that the town clerk would notify the police would not make a visit to your house and remind you that you, and it's all within the RSA, that you owe the town money for either a motor vehicle, tax payment, or any other payment that you made in your town here. Check box. This addresses the practice prior to getting to that point. Certified return receipt envelopes right now are $10.44. We had no way to collect that. The town was absorbing that cost for every envelope we sent out. This addresses that by specifying that we not only charge for $45 that the bank charges us for inspection, but allows us to collect the additional costs included with sending you out a notice that your check. So if you would like to look this over, I can certainly bring it up
Yeah.
at our next meeting and ask for your, it is a new policy.
Yeah, so, I just read it while we were waiting. I just have a couple of comments, actually, questions. It says for payment received, it must be a bank check, money order, or cash. Money order is not guaranteed to make secure. Do we want to keep money order in there? A bank check is, or cash is. But a money order, like I could go to like your corner store and say, hey, you do money orders? Yeah, you want for $20. Doesn't mean.
I can certainly take it out. This was part of a policy that I borrowed, as Tricia.
I just know that for my.
We do that all the time, but I don't have to leave that in there. We can leave it as bank check or cash.
I mean, I've never experienced a bad money order, but I also agree, they can come from various places that may not.
I haven't experienced a bad money order, but my concern is we don't have a bank in town. And we do have, and especially the people that are coming in to write a bad check, maybe in a financial place where they don't have decent transportation to get to a bank, or, so I feel like it creates one more loophole, it finds them and makes it tough for them. To me, I understand your concern, but I just think it's such a rare, the chance of getting that, it puts them at a disadvantage, it makes it one more hurdle to jump through.
Money orders available to some.
I'm not sure, I think you can get them
No,
in
they
the
are
post
inside.
office, can you get them in the post office?
You might be.
Yeah, I think you can get them at.
You can get them at Walmart.
Just, but I'm thinking local, like. People, you know, if they don't have,
You just be aware.
Well,
and then we have to have. Yeah.
I would recommend we leave it in,
Okay.
if we have an instance where we
Yes,
receive
that
a
one.
bet, we can always,
Take it out of that.
there's a line at the bottom
No, we treat it just like.
that the policy will be reviewed from time to time.
Yeah, yeah.
But thank you for that comment, I had not heard that.
And then, just another, so this, if the party has a total of 2 checks, blah, 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 that paragraph. How are we gonna monitor that? How are we gonna know this is check number 2 from a certain person? How do we?
It's tough if she a spreadsheet or something, I used to.
Yeah, so when I worked at a grocery store in high school, we had a list, like a cash register, and that you kind of study it,
Yeah.
just not, you know,
Yeah.
that when you do something, you just study.
Catherine, I have a question for you, I'm not as savvy with Apple time. Are there places to make notations within everybody's
There are.
profile?
Yep, you can post it on there, that, yep.
In the tax database,
Yeah,
right?
so that would work for taxes. I used to just keep an Excel spreadsheet and honestly, my time in that position, if somebody ended up, I mean, the state would go after them for registration,
Oh, yeah.
taxes, you go ahead and return it, so all the interest goes in. So people would come and pay those. It was more like wrong licenses or a vital record, and I don't think a vital record, so yeah, and there's no, we had no enforcement action for those,
Right, so
so.
provided the service and the.
Yeah, so if they're relatively small amounts, those larger amounts are, they're cut, we get that money back. But those small amounts can add up over time.
Since we've instituted the new partnership with the Allenstown PD, it's been very
It's never
successful.
magic. Oh, really?
Prior to that, there were quite a few that had gone. Most people are coming in and paying from the initial letter, but what I'm trying to capture here is the process. And then our availability to add on our costs as well.
And that's a big one. We did,
It
even though
does
I would,
build up.
for motor vehicles and taxes, I would send the letters certified and we did that.
Can you send me the Word version? Because I want to
Absolutely.
look on the policy template.
I will send it out to all of you.
Thanks.
This was last minute.
Yeah, no, and I'll put it on the template and we can look at it.
Sure. That's it for me tonight, thank you.
I do have an item for under business. I know that the chief has withdrawn his constitution position from part-time to full-time. But I know that he's also still needing to look at what does he do within the department, because he obviously feels there's a need for increased staff. So I wanted to make some comments about why I was not immediately going to approve that and what I was looking for to feed into any future requests. So I had requested information from Chief Lambert that he told me about potential deficiencies in the work. The information provided is not substantiate the need for additional staff. The ambulance/current income and expense data was also requested to define and analyze the sustainability of the revolving fund to meet this. That too has not been specifically provided. I'll add that even with that information verified, I'm not likely to approve the use of revolving funds to budget and static knowledge. Further explanations provided here. Benefit dollars in the amount of $26,290 are required with a top tier reduction employee can make for medical and dental insurance while holding the requested full-time fire chief position. That figure does not include any charge. These benefit dollars must be appropriated and allocated to the full-time chief position because of the employee wage standard. To avoid discrimination, the town would be legally obligated to offer the benefits should we seek to hire a new person. We would be fiscally remiss, even foolish, to not have these dollars dedicated and allocated the benefits line of account. Benefit dollars should not be moved from the finance director position to the fire chief position. Those dollars should remain dedicated to finance or either MRI consultant cost or future finance director hires/contract. That means that $30,922 needed to fund a chief retirement benefit in 26-27 would come from another source. The same would be true for the 2025 benefit. Please note the retirement benefit cost listed here differs from the amount quoted by Chief Lambert, and I believe that's because the 26-27 NHS employer rate was slightly lower. This is my view. Using the figures listed above, the partially calculated salary required to meet Chief Lambert's request to expand the chief position to full-time comes to $163,212. 160 budgeted, plus benefits in the amount of $26,290, plus $30,920. Additionally, that initial figure of $163,000 is calculated before employer paid federal tax payments and excludes the annual employer cost of life and disability insurance and any shift coverage difference. With those additional costs added in, the total salary package for the full-time chief position would be close to $175,000. For prudent budgeting best practices and transparency, these dollars must be dedicated to salary and benefit funds account, not cited the revolving fund, especially since we do not have a detailed CIP or expenditure schedule established for the operating costs of the revolving fund can support in the margins of the revolving fund. Chief Lambert's report detailed efficient staffing in for existing positions. 3, existing positions of jobs elsewhere, and existing employees of jobs elsewhere and unable to fulfill the responsibilities of the Allenstown Fire Department. One other employee had been responsibility for relegated to 3 other staff members, one of which is one of the 3 employees with another job and reduced talent. Some responsibility from those fulfilling existing positions have shifted to the chief. Performing a full analysis of the workload and tasks Now they are parceled out amongst the existing positions to help us see if and where established positions are not sufficient to cover. It is necessary to record all hours worked across all positions without other or further deficiencies in staffing hours. Knowing that some employees will work unemployed and unpaid hours makes it difficult to accurately quantify the need for additional staff. Our updates provided by the chief during 2022, 23, 24, and 41 of 2025 did not point out deficiencies. So it mean they weren't there, just they didn't find those. Having a definitive and quantitative explanation of the immediate responsibilities of the chief position needed to justify interview of the chief. My explanation. Given the preliminary information provided by Chief Lambert regarding staffing deficiencies, it would be best to ensure existing positions are sufficiently staffed to meet the already defined task hour of each position. Provide a dollar-to-dollar analysis for bringing the early staff to current budgeted dollars versus $80 to increase the chief position. That would include the expense of benefits. And it would be best to define any efficiencies that can be created by lowering the fees to increase the chief position. The fire chief had also provided an alternative option of reducing the chief position to 20 hours per week to promote the current full-time lieutenant account. He reports changes in salary and benefits may produce minor savings from both 2025 and 2026. Given the staffing deficiencies described, fulfilling the existing positions may be the best step forward to have this time. Even so, the select board should not approve the increased staffing hours or salary without knowing what tasks are not covered by the existing funded position, or indeed how tasks could possibly be shifted to create the most appropriate position. On my last page. While we are, as a featured town, with a bottom line budget model, it is fiscally responsible for the town to clearly define where our dollars are used. Having expenses like salary and benefits designated specific lines of the town makes our budget transparent and easy to manage and analyze and justify. Drawing on a revolving fund for spent expenditures such as annual salary and benefits is not fiscally transparent and create potential for a shortfall. Rather, revolving fund dollars could be used to cover unplanned, non-permanent overtime hours or hours needed for special short-term or long-term projects. In addition to analyzing staffing needs, it is imperative to analyze and understand the margins of the ambulance business, since the ambulance service income and expenses determine the balance within the revolving fund. At any time throughout the year, the select board could be tasked with approving expenditures from that revolving fund. It would be prudent to keep and update a running CIP list of anticipated and fulfilled equipment expenses for the service. That is, identify dollars dedicated to year to year for ambulance repairs and replacement expenses as well as hardware related equipment based on life expectancy. Doing so would allow for a more concise CIP fund to give a clearer picture of the anticipated surplus or deficit in the fund. Without a more robust CIP fund built in, it is not fiscally responsible for the select board to include salary expenditures from the revolving fund, particularly for salary meant to be consistent people year after year. The chief has not provided the data necessary to analyze and understand. As in any business model, it is prudent to regularly measure your ongoing margins against your original business plan. In the future, having both a thorough analysis of the efficiencies in positions currently budgeted within the fire department or any other department coming forward with such a request, a report on the department and a report on the department's margins with robust supporting data will allow for a better informed opportunity to consider an increase in fire department investments. Currently, in this default budget year, I believe it's not responsible to approve the salary increase for fire chief position. Especially since we have put a hiring freeze in place and do not have sufficient data at this time to support. I've made this decision with consideration to the Allenstown taxpayer and all Allenstown employees. At this time, I'd like the board to consider two related motions. I would like to make a motion that the board require the fire chief to provide a quarterly report with robust data demonstrating income, expenses, and margins of the ambulance service beginning with the first quarter of 2024. And also, I don't know, should we not set a motion?
Mine is robust. It's subjective.
That is.
It is, okay, yeah, yeah. All right. Take out the robust
Sorry,
data.
he withdrew that it was. Right. So it's not dead.
You have a motion on.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, motion. Do you?
Yeah, she made a motion,
Oh.
so you need a second before we can discuss.
So your motion is going to be
To have a 17-year-old. But a quarterly report that demonstrates the income, expenses, and margins of the ambulance service. The first quarter of 2020.
so just the income, expenses.
And margins of the. Yeah, and I think as this is a business plan that we have within our town, and that's just good business practice. We know what budget. Because we need to make decisions. You know, we need to say we approve or don't approve different expenses.
I agree, I'll second that.
Before we go any further, Chief, what your comment on this?
The first thing I'd like to say is I respect the fact that Trish did come to me to talk to me ahead of time about this. So I respect the fact that it happened in person and not on Facebook. The second thing I'd like to ask is, I've always preached this, and I said this to Trish earlier. We're supposed to be fair and consistent in our jobs, right? So my opinion of this is, I understand that I asked for the fire chief's position. As we move forward, it's not just about the fire department. The highway department has a revolving fund, the police department has a revolving fund. Why the fire department is in the microscope, I don't know. But it seems as though as we move forward, and I explained this to Trish, so please respect my opinion, is I outlined the salary as the $106,000 is not an additional expense. That seems to be left off every conversation and every statement. Right? It's already in my budget. The additional cost is the benefits, to which I will agree with Trish. I was doing it for the position because I might not be here for a long time, is to address to make sure the position's there. So I would like the falseness of the salary to be removed because it's been used to assassinate my character on Facebook and social media. The second part is I would say that there's a little bit of fire department discrimination when it comes to analyzing the numbers. If you guys are going to be an objective board, I would expect the same expectation back to 2024 from every department, not just the fire department. Because we're supposed to be working on these things together. And again, I respect the fact that Trish came to me. We had a great conversation about this, right? I am not afraid of producing the information. I will produce it. In the last statement, the email that came from Kathleen said that she would parse out some of the expectations. I provided what I could. I had less than a week to produce the information to bring it there. So going to Rita, who works 1 day a week, is a difficult process. But why the fire department is the bullseye right now seems to be something that bothers me.
I hear what you're saying, and I agree that any department with revolving fund should be producing.
Right, so, and I appreciate that. So,
It doesn't say he has to provide it, it said you like quarterly report, so I'm guessing that comes from finance, because you had said you don't have that information.
no, I do track that. And then what I explained to Trish when we had our conversation is, if I have the time, I have a medical program, our medical software has many data points that I can put in. but I can't get to those because I don't have the time. So to your point of wanting information, I never said I wouldn't provide it. Although it was like I didn't provide it, I would bring it to you. But instead, I was assassinated publicly to the point where it's a moot point. I don't want to be bothered with the fire chief position. I came to advocate for the department, but here I am a month later licking my wounds. So when it comes to these things, when I work with John, I talk with John on a weekly basis. I'm sure we could come to a consensus. Here's my fear, and I said this to Trish. When are you going to weaponize it against me on Facebook? I don't want it to be a weapon. I want us to work constructively and transparently. But every time I bring something forward, it seems as though I'm victimized on Facebook. That's not how a constructive town, select board, and department heads should be working together.
And as I stated to you, I mean, the point of this, the motion would be, and now it should be all departments, would be following one, should be providing us with this information. We need to be able to make educated, well-informed decisions about how that, any of those are going to be used. Not just for the protection of the taxpayer, because let's say we say no to that, now it's coming out of taxpayer. But also to protect each department's involvement and the integrity in which they were established.
100%. And the other part that comes along with that is you pay me a salary. You pay Chad a salary and you pay the police department a salary, right? I lived this town many years when the select board would micromanage the department heads for spending $200 to buy toilet paper. You pay me to do a job. I have to have integrity. So when I come back with those numbers, I'm not going to use it to bend it to benefit me. I'm benefiting the taxpayer. That's what you hired him to do. You hired me to do. You hired all these people to do. I'll gladly produce the information. I will gladly work with you, but I will not sit and have it as a weapon against me all the time to either scrutinize my budget or cut the fire department. I lived that for many years in this small town. We provide a service. I'm doing my best to provide the best ambulance and fire department service to the town, regardless of what the history was, because I know the history. I lived it for 3.5 years. So some of the people weren't there for those meetings and discussions about how Tri-Town will do this in the back of the ambulance, how one of the people got caught on a body camera degrading the fire department. That has nothing to do with a relationship. It was a bad relationship. The point of the matter is I get paid to be your department head, so you entrusted me to get information forward without any type of ill will. And I've done that for 3.5 years.
And I think, this type of report, the raw data is just the raw data. I can't believe that, sustained raw data would be meant to weapons, anything. And again, my decision making, if I don't know enough about those funds, what's there, how did it get there? What caused it to be at the level it is? What are the potential pitfalls? I don't feel I can make decisions to say yea or nay that could be used for this to.
And I truly respect that. And that's what, like as I told you before, Keith, Buzz, and Maureen, and Scott is the witness. When we put this proposal together, when everything came together, a lot of those numbers come for 10 years of data that Pembroke provided for us. So when we brought this stuff forward and transitioning, the data was there and we vetted it. And they were very, very critical of the stuff that I had brought forward. But the end goal is we are a gigantically growing community who needs to take care of ourselves. The cost, the relationship, that stuff was failing. And I was the one that had to be the steward of doing the information. So you can blame me, but it wasn't, I was doing my job.
So moving forward, the report of the margins would help to better.
Absolutely.
Where have we met the business plan? We succeeded in some areas, not so much in other areas. Are those areas important? How we're moving forward? All of that is needed to really effectively.
Well, and that's why I provided like the billing statement for you. So you could see the billing statement from the company, not from what I might have done to it, but you get it straight from the source. And when it comes to the call volume, that's from the software that we have to track calls by standard. That's not from me. That's from the program. That's what we are really doing. So the other minutiae stuff that we have to work on, Sure, I can go through and parse out everybody's individual salary, but I provide the budget committee with a budget every year based on all that information that I put together. And I would disagree with John, to be honest with you. I am preparing a narrative this year, not just a line that people can read from, so we know what it's for, our $200 that we pay for an incident for somebody to have food or a drink when they go to a fire. That's my job to explain that stuff, to make sure that the citizens understand. So.
I think, so what you read off was a lot of information. Yeah, I know, and that was just a statement to.
Right, and I think
General.
I tonight can support that motion. Because for the same reason that we didn't support staff across the company, I mean,
Sure.
across the town.
Yeah.
Right, so I think what we need to do is work with the department heads and look at, I gathered a ton of data in my career, some of it was just useless. And it takes time, and some of it was very useful. I think we really need to think about what's useful to gather for information and data and work with the department heads to decide what's useful to them and to us. So I think it'd be important during budget season as well. But you run out too much, I
know, that
read
was a
this
lot of
myself, so
very,
for right now,
It doesn't know.
I think we need to give it some thought.
I can email the two motions that I have here, for you guys. to-
I like that.
They don't really directly correlate to the rest of that was my reasons for that particular instance.
Yep.
But it brought forward the fact that we don't have approval on where that revolving fund is.
And I think we need to
Growing
work
and not-
together with every department head to
Yes.
see what information is useful to them and to us. Because if we're gonna ask somebody to take some time and do something, it has to add value.
I'll put this in an email,
Okay.
everybody here, so we jump. To share with everybody. Some thoughts about why I think.
Table the motion.
So you have a motion and a second.
Right.
Oh, did you have a second?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to draw the motion?
Yeah, I would draw the motion and we go to that.
Second, you withdraw as well?
Yes.
I have something, unless big business. You don't mind?
So I was reading through, our code of ethics, and I found some mistakes and just some things that I wanted you guys to look at. I really. It's easier than saying it all here. Just to look over the information right now, and just let me know what you think by the end of the meeting, maybe we could put it on our agenda for next week. You have to turn through some of the pages, but, I just marked it with my pen real quick. You see, so on page 2, so this is our current, yes, this is the one that I got offline from 2016. Was the last time that we was even like for. I know there was some discussion.
When we first came in, I think we.
You did.
Yeah.
You did.
2023.
Recently, so John.
Oh, there is record. Because even John had sent me. Totally the same one.
I don't think you guys ever finished it. I know you guys talked about it, but you guys never finished it.
So anyways.
I couldn't find anything more.
Okay. Yeah, and that's because I didn't talk to him, so I was wondering why it looks like this, because we have, first and foremost, we have numbers here that don't line up. Our ethics committee, formation of it, that's gone, and then it ends at 13. But, let me just do this real quick, so number 10, it says Allenstown Ethics Committee, and this says education. 11 says formation of ethics committee, this one says inquiries. In the body itself, so just things that I would just, I think we've taken the ethics committee right out.
Yeah.
I wish I could get all that go back.
Yeah. We haven't that exactly.
So we're reading in on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I know we did it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it was just something that I was looking through and I just wanted to just bring that forward, and I did just bring a conflict of interest ordinance from Brentwood, I just wanted to throw in there, and then another code of ethics from Washington, just peruse over, and then just kind of come together and discuss it. See what we think.
And as Kathy mentioned, we had these prior discussions, we have these through.
Okay.
That would be key to these, policies.
So I'll
Make sure that we're meeting.
Okay. But if we can discuss all this. our next meeting. Yeah. I said if we could discuss it at our next meeting, put it on the agenda. So go through it and make our comments. Yeah.
Thanks.
And if you guys have more recent comment, you can shoot it to us, or you can shoot it to us.
Yes, absolutely. I'll go back through my emails and see what I can find, but I remember we had meetings about it, and I think it was that your assistant spot, the lawyer actually come in and review before we made the changes. But I don't remember if perhaps we went through those motions and then never actually finalized it, maybe we went through all.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't think we did. I remember the discussions were there and you had mentioned talking to the attorney, but I think it fell off. I think Derek had given his notice and that took up the getting the interim town administrator. I think that was about the time it dropped off.
I'll go back to my emails and see.
But it was meant to see, making decisions. Because I feel like decisions were made with documents itself.
I read through some of the minutes and I know there was discussion, but I haven't been on to all of this yet, so. But I did talk to John and he find any other things and some information. So.
It's funny you use Brentwood, and I know Kathleen used it as an example before. Yeah, I shouldn't even give them what happened.
Oh, it was just an example, I just put
I-
this together.
It has nothing to.
Yeah. You know, you're referencing. Plus, there's something what the policies that they have, yeah.
Anything else for other business?
Nope, I just.
Okay.
Right. We got a few
Oh, you
things.
got some thoughts.
Yeah, first is a tax abatement. Recommended by Evan. It's $306.73. This is relates to map 110, lot 54. That's on Swiftwater Drive. And this is not we're not collecting any cash or sending any cash. This is to zero out this total in the database because taxing common property. I'll read the whole thing, but that's essentially what it comes down to. They just so. Parcel noted above is the common name card for the Swiftwater Drive target's assessment should always be $0. That's the thing.
My question is common land within their property, are they already paying taxes per parcel that would need that?
When you have a subdivision, you usually sub-space lots. I think the building lot here minimum is 3 acres or 5 acres. 5. When you do a subdivision, you're allowed to put a house on less than 5 acres, but you have to make that land up somewhere else. If you put in a subdivision, 8 houses, whatever you're short of the minimum land requirement, you make up in common land that is owned by all. So you do end up paying taxes for everything, it's just not an individual lot. What happens every year with this, you may have experienced it happen. We send out lien notices for land that should never have had a tax amount. Over the course of time, interest builds up and we end up with an amount. This is housekeeping. so that we don't get another document generated.
Do we need them?
So I have a motion, was there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Tricia.
Kathleen, I.
Diane, Laura.
Scott. Next is a property lien. Map 407 lots for.
This is in relation to a family services case.
Okay. So it's important that we, quote the, RSA, let me see. Okay, because that will avoid us having to change things. Anybody else want to look at this? Place Marina, somebody's got some assistance, they own real estate, we have the right to vote in another part. How that works, not familiar with it. Welfare being unique to any other type of lending, in that it just sits on the registry of deeds until the property transfers in, or until the person pays off the lien. In the first year, there's no interest accumulated, but after 1 year, you start paying 1.6% interest on it. And so typically, what I've seen happen is, somebody will go and buy it and for the title search. That means it's done. Oftentimes it's gone through the state, sometimes, we don't know it's transferred hands, but the lien state. Said, oh, we want to get rid of this lien, then the county goes, well.
You folks have recently this year forgiven 2 liens for exactly that reason. Unfortunately, they were so old, we had no record of how much that person originally owed the town, so we had to clean the lien off.
Yeah.
Now with better record keeping, your future boards will be able to have
I experienced a lot of that when I was here in that position. Older records, manually hand-cut records. Lost. They might have thought they were part of the purging records that you could purge at that time, but clean records have to be kept. Different. Did you make a motion?
No. No, you need a motion and a second. Scott did, you need a second.
All in favor?
Tricia.
Kathleen, I.
Diane, Laura.
Scott. One piece of house. Is to accept a grant from the Department of Environmental Services in the amount of $2,500. Transfer station for used oil.
Waste oil. New Hampshire DES will have grant monies available every year. It's first come, first served. You apply for the grant monies until they are gone. Allenstown has been allotted $2,500. Chad has put it in for waste oil containment structures in case any of our waste oil containers rupture. The waste oil is held safe. Correct. And the way this grant works is we pay for the materials up front, and then we submit the receipts to the state when they're paid. It won't affect the budget, it will be kept outside the budget.
She'll get it one.
Actually. I move that we approve the acceptance of this $2,500 grant from the Department of Environmental Services.
Should we say, in the motion?
We're just accepting the New Hampshire DES.
For wastewater treatment names.
Second.
All in favor?
Oh, we have Tricia, Kathleen, Laura.
Scott.
Yeah, I'm just reading it. Three signatures. We also.
Yep.
Make a motion to ratify the consent calendar of August 11th, 2025.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Tricia,
Kathleen, I.
Diane,
Todd.
make the motion to accept the public minutes for the public meeting of July 28th, 2025.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Tricia,
Kathleen, I.
Diane,
Laura.
Scott.
I make a motion to accept approve the payroll and account payroll manifest of check manifest -153, -154, and non-check manifest -269. And account payroll manifest on 7/20.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Tricia,
Kathleen, I.
Just doing one.
And Scott. Said that.
Now,
All right. While we're signing, there's a letter here from the board. Selectmen in Epsom. In reference to her individuation of the town boundary lines, apparently every 7 years, walk the lines with each board, walk together. And they're wondering when we be.
It doesn't have to be the entire board, so, you know, and I think it doesn't mean you have to be a board member, you have to be a representative of the town. I've done it
if you
before.
find an either individual that would like to walk the town lines.
I do, I know who the board rep is, exactly, you get a show in there.
It's not, you know, an easy hike in the woods, you're gonna be, you're climbing over things and.
Does it serve like a survey?
Yes, it to validate our boundaries.
Oh, look, Peter's on it.
Run for punishments.
You ride your bike? I love
Part of it you can, because I know where the four corners are in Bear Brook, where the next to there.
it. There you go.
If you would need me to do that, I could do that. I'm actually a conservation easement monitor for Bear Paw. So I
Oh, you are.
I do kind of do that already for them on parts of it. So if you need me to assist, I would be.
Thank you,
as a
Peter.
representative.
Yeah.
It could also be a fun exercise.
Sure.
Exercise, or
Sure.
if you're fire.
Oh, absolutely, they can help out.
Or police personnel.
We lived in Bearbrook all last year with rescue, so.
Yeah,
Peter, I'll pass along your names and.
sure. And then have them contact me. So I'm assuming there's 4 towns, each one we have to do? Yeah, okay.
Looks like it's just on the rail trail.
Pretty close. Yeah, for the river, yeah. Yes.
We need a motion to nominate Peter DeSantis as our official walker of the voters. Of voters. An official term for it. You just said.
Forty-fifth Carol in Pittsburgh.
I nominate Peter DeSantis to be the Alex down order.
Perambulating.
Perambulator, yes.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Tricia and Kathleen, I. Diane.
Thank
you.
Welcome.
I know, I can't believe that's in there, what an honor.
Two other
I
pieces,
just like candidate.
two other pieces of correspondence here. One is the check receipt for $30,000 money that Chad gets from the highway grant fund. And another is from Steve.
It actually goes to the town of Florence, it's not. No, that is counted on revenue as part of our tax.
Exactly where it's been rocked, like, a big stone.
It's a revised flood insurance rate now, flood insurance study from Steve. We don't have all of it. Do we?
No, now, those are the first pieces of correspondence which has been shared with the planning board. And they will have a discussion with the Central New Hampshire Regional Planning Commission to see if there are any zoning amendments that need.
Tell people, if you ever been in a flood zone, check every year when your insurance is being renewed, is whether you're still in that flood zone. And if you haven't been in one and you're near enough to water, you should check every year to see if you've been placed in. Because it does change. It's matter to your insurance. You don't have to go to insurance and review it. Yeah.
We do have a non-public this evening, shouldn't take too long.
So this is in progress with the planning board.
Yes, Michael Mary's been
He's on
sent
it.
all of
All
that.
right, I think he did mention this.
Yeah, like,
Thanks, Peter.
Well,
Bye.
yes.
Okay, that's the next time. To add to your repertoire, your resume, Wrangler.
All right. I move that the board enter a non-public session in accordance with the provisions of RSA 91-L:3, Part 2 at 7:53 p.m.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Kathleen, I.
Right, I,
Scott.
I'll shut off that.
I move that the contents of the non-public meeting might feel that they may adversely affect somebody. All in favor?
Tricia,
Kathleen, I.
Diane, I, Laura, I.
Scott. I move that we adjourn at 22 p.m.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Tricia, I. Kathleen, I. Diane, I. Laura, I.
Scott.
8:30. Right. Looking at that agenda, I was like, do you think you could be out by 7?
No.